Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this evening's Traffic Safety Board. Today is Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. First order of business is just introductions. My name is Eric Kraz. I'm chairman of the Traffic Safety Board, and with me this evening, we'll go around the room this way.
Jennifer McNevich, member.
Maxwell Kahn, member.
Greg Dion, Vice Chair.
Kristen Goss, member.
Ken Smith, member.
Bill Pruitt from the Building Department. Tom Voigt, Planning Department.
Chris Schregel, Engineering Department. Captain Brown will be late this evening, but he will be in attendance.
And also in the audience this evening, we have Council Member Zucala. So we have a total of 7 voting members in attendance this evening. So we do have the quorum that we need to move forward. So first order of business for the evening is for those that are in attendance this evening, should an alarm sound in the building, just emergency protocol. The exit is to my left, your right, out the doors. Front or back of the building would be where the exits are should the alarm sound. Haven't had it happen, and hopefully we don't ever have it happen. Other than that, the first order of business is to move through the minutes from the March 1st meeting. Is there any comments from anyone on the board for corrections?
Yes, Chairman, I do have one. Page 4, right at the top of page 4, it says, after a discussion, this will be investigated by the highway. I just assume that would be the highway department.
Hold up. Take a look on your screen. By the Highway Department?
Yes. That was all I had.
Any other comments, changes? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Greg. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Ken. Any further comments? None being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved, 7-0. Okay, now that we're through the old business, we'll do another introduction here for everyone that's in the audience, just so you are aware. I see that we have 2 individuals signed in this evening, one for item number 7, one for item number 2, so lucky for the person that's here for number 7. We don't go through the order of the agenda. We'll actually go through the order of the agenda that you are signed in, and then we'll go back through the agenda for all of the other items. That way you're not stuck here for the other items that are not pertinent to you. We try to get to you first. So you are aware, this is not a law-making body for the town board. We are an advisory board to the town board. Any actions that we take or any actions that we recommend would be forwarded to the town board through Council Member Zucala for resolutions to go before the board. Should there be any law or ordinance changes that need to be made based on the action item, based on the item that you are bringing before us. However, there are some items that just may require the individual departments to make changes, like highway, planning, or building department, and they can take those actions based on what they're hearing throughout this meeting. When you do come up to the podium, if you are here to speak, we'll just ask that you come up to the podium, state your name and address so that the system picks everything up so that we have it for the minutes. And then with that, anything that you have communicated with the town already, we've received a copy of it here in our stack of papers. So there's no reason to reiterate what you've already said in your paperwork here. We've already read through that. You'll be granted 3 minutes when you're up at the podium. We'll give you a ringer of the bell with about 2.5 minutes, letting you know you have about 30 seconds. And then from there, we'll give you 2 rings if you hit the 3-minute mark. Light crowd this evening. After we close the public comment period, we'll then open it up for the board to discussion. And if we have any questions of you at that time, we may ask further questions of you as we're having our conversation. So with that, we will open it up here to item number 7. And Chris will give us background on this request first so that everybody is on the same page, and then we'll open up public comment.
Thank you, Chairman. So inside your package, you should have an email from Mr. Bob McMaster related to a request for a traffic signal at the intersection of Niagara Falls Boulevard and North French Road. He identifies that there's also a daycare that also creates substantial traffic in both directions in the morning and the afternoon. That there's a problem as vehicles wanting to turn left onto Robinson enter the middle lane from more than a block away. North French Road is indicated on the large screen. Everyone is familiar with it. primarily east of the intersection of East Robinson, but this small section is primarily residential. It turns from a 5-lane highway on as to a 2-lane. Wow, it's a new computer, guys. Sorry. Changes to a 2-lane highway. See if that pops up. Anyways, the in terms of traffic counts that we have for this area, in 2013, this is off the GBNRTC website. There was a 1,462 vehicles on North French for both directions, opposed to East Robinson that had just shy of 17,000. The specific intersection in question is flanked with traffic signals both to the north and to the south, one at Creekside and one at East Robinson. Niagara Falls Boulevard, as you know, is a state highway. So any type of traffic control device that would be added there or any type of signage would ultimately be the responsibility or come at the approval of New York State DOT.
Okay. So with that, we'll open up the public comment period. Robert McMaster, did you want to speak on this item? If you do, the floor is yours.
Yes, hi, I'm Bob McMaster. I live at 151 North French. At various times of the day, it's almost impossible to get a left or right turn from North French onto Niagara Falls Boulevard. People ignore 100% the law that says you're not to block the intersection. If you're very lucky and you're sitting there with your indicator on, you might get a couple people that will stop and let you into a left turn. But the only way to do that is then to pull into the center lane, which is designed for left and right turns off of the Niagara Falls Boulevard. At one point, I again had two people that were courteous enough to stop on the boulevard in the northbound lane, which allowed me to go up into that center lane to make my left turn. Well, at that time, I almost ended up in a head-on collision because somebody else was coming down that center lane, headed towards Robinson to make a left turn there. Now, needless to say, the left turn lane is not nearly that long. So that creates a major problem. And this is it's not an all day long, every day, 100% impossible. There's times I've driven to make a left onto the boulevard and there's been no traffic. But what I could ask for would be one of the managed signals to where if there's cars approaching that it changes the light to allow them to make their way onto the boulevard. Because even making a right turn to get northbound on Niagara Falls Boulevard, again, you've got people that are so anxious to get up to the red light at Robinson and Niagara Falls Boulevard that they've blocked all of that traffic. So you can't possibly squeeze your car in between until, again, you get somebody that's courteous enough to allow you to blend into the traffic. I don't know what else I could tell you about those situations, but it's like I said, I can see that there's a major problem at that intersection. There's a daycare center right on the corner on North French. Mornings and evenings, those people are trying to get off of North French onto the boulevard. Almost impossible. The only other solution that we have as residents is to go eastbound and turn so that we can turn left onto Robinson to go and turn left onto Niagara Falls Boulevard at a light. The alternative would be, again, same thing, headed southbound onto Creekside, going towards Niagara Falls Boulevard, and again, wait for the light there, which is an extremely long light. Am I done? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak on this item this evening? None being heard or seen, we'll close the public comment period and open the conversation up here to the board. Chris, I don't know if you have the numbers off the top of your head, but obviously just so you are aware, this is a New York State DOT highway, Niagara Falls Boulevard. So it's out of the town's jurisdiction for placement of any traffic control devices. That would be done by the New York State DOT. So we would have to send a recommendation or a referral to DOT to see if the warrants are met for a traffic signal to be installed at that location. Okay, so with that, we know that there is enough traffic on Niagara Falls Boulevard, but what you need on North French, would be enough traffic at that intersection to meet the warrants based on the size of Niagara Falls Boulevard. And my assumption is, Chris, you don't know those off the top of your head, but I'm going to go with that. Based on 1,400 cars, it's not going to meet the warrants when it goes to New York State DOT.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know the volume warrants offhand, but yeah, I don't think there's sufficient traffic on North French to warrant a traffic signal.
Yeah, so there's certain traffic counts that need to be made in order for them to warrant. There has to be enough traffic coming off North French in order to warrant them to put in the traffic signal. Based on Niagara Falls Boulevard being that stretch, it's 2 lanes in each direction with the center turning lane. It's going to require a pretty high traffic count coming off of North French to warrant that traffic signal to be installed there. And that's all done through engineering studies and traffic counts. And we have 2 other agenda items here that are related to requests for traffic signals where we do have those numbers based on the road width that's available to us that Chris put together for the turning movements. So like I said, we'd have to refer that to New York State DOT for them to do an analysis to figure if it would be there. But my assumption, I don't know if anybody else here on the board disagrees, Jennifer, if you know exact numbers or anything, it's going to be
No,
very hard for it to meet that requirement.
Yeah, it will, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it's probably in the 200 per hour, and if there's 1,400 over the course of the day, it's probably not going to make that. Our gut that it's not going to make it, I still think that we should ask DOT to look at it, especially since the commenter noted that there was a sign to not block the intersection, and now it appears that it's missing. If DOT could at least look at the intersection and see if there's something that they could do.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, Chris, I know that on Sheridan Drive, New York State painted on the road in front of the fire hall, the do not block or the block do not or whatever, however they paint that on the road, and it has the box kind of painted on the road. I'm not sure if that's something that DOT would consider to make that road stand out a little bit more, if that's something we could ask for as well if a signal's not warranted. Really just seeing if there's a way to increase visibility to that side street for the through traffic in that area. So
Another thing they can look at, the resident talked about backups from the East Robinson signal. You can almost see it here. Maybe that signal needs to be retimed by the state DOT to allow for vehicles not to back up past North French.
Right, and I think there was just a bunch of work that was done there correctly with the Delta Sonic that changed some signal timing and everything probably through that leg, so that it could warrant us sending the letter to New York State DOT based on the work that was done there, advising that it's been brought to our attention of cars blocking that intersection, not allowing through, and asking them to do an analysis through that corridor to pick up that street.
Chris, if you had a smart signal at Robinson and at Creekside, could you have a camera at this intersection without the signal light and then make adjustments accordingly?
You could. I mean, smart signalization allows you to put mid-block cameras to do advanced detection and to monitor. You can also, you can do analysis just based if there were two smart signals at these locations. You could do time travel between those two, even without a mid camera. But again, that's DOT, so that would be up to them. I know they're doing more and more smart signals.
Is this covered by smart signals now?
No.
Okay. Smart signals are coming. Smart signals are coming, and eventually they'll be here and they'll possibly take care of some of these problems like you're having.
So current traffic signals run independent of each other. Smart signals allow the traffic signals to have coordination and kind of talk to each other, right? So they'll know with cameras that are on the intersections, with counting that's being done as those cars are going through, to know cars approaching. It's done in different areas. New York State DOT is installing them in different areas as well. That's why Dan's question came up on that. We have some signals here throughout the town that we've installed that are the MyoVision signals, which have camera detection, which on 2 other agenda items we will review. Those camera loops that are there to show the traffic. Those signals are actively counting to allow adjustments to be made on those signals. Current signals that are on the road that are not smart signals, they have timing and programming that are in there that are just static timing, and they just continue to run and run and run. So with that smart signal technology, it allows for more timing, to alert his officers that people are blocking it, if they're in the area, to pay a little bit more attention to it. So I would move at this point, Chris, that can we refer this to DOT, alert them that the sign is missing, and then also point out to them that it's been brought to our attention that cars are blocking the intersection, cars can't make the turn, and see if there's any warrant analysis or work that can be done to determine improvements at the intersection.
Okay.
On the board, any comments, concerns, favor, opposed? Sounds like we are in favor 7-0. So what we'll do with this is Chris will draft a letter on behalf of the Traffic Safety Board to New York State DOT. Once that letter is sent over to DOT, they normally, what do they have to respond? They have 30 days or 60 days, Chris?
No, there's no time limit.
Okay. I thought they had a time limit. So at some point, New York State DOT will send a letter back to us, either indicating that they're not concerned about it and they're not going to do anything, or they will send back to us saying that they are going to start work to study it and find out. So once that letter is sent over and we get a response back from DOT, I'm sure Chris will alert you to that. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, moving on to our next item. We have item number 2 on the agenda this evening, which is for Sheridan Drive, traffic safety concerns near Dan Troy Drive, and also related to the New York State Post Office. This is one of our
U.S. Post Office.
favorite areas that comes up many, many times.
I went through there the other day. It's a U.S. Post Office, by the way,
What did I say?
New York State.
Oh, I meant U.S. Post Office, sorry. Item number 2, where are you? All right, Chris, you're up.
All right, thank you.
I like this list.
So Erica, who's here, thanks for coming. She's a newer resident of the Dan Troy area, and she reached out in reference to safety concerns near that Sheridan Drive intersection. She's kind of broken the request into 3 requests: speeding on Sheridan, illegal turns coming out of the post office, and then median conflicts at or near SJ with that shared center turn lane. She has provided some information. Let me show you that. I think this is also in your package, but I'll go through them briefly. So here are some pictures. This is coming out of Dan Troy. She's trying to make a left, but obviously people are stacking well beyond the turning lane, trying to get into SJ. Additional photos of that. Here we've got an illegal right in. I don't know if it's coming right or left, but this is a right out only, so somebody's coming in the wrong direction. Likewise with this vehicle, likewise with that vehicle. So again, here's additional congestion within that center turn lane. Here's another illegal movement. So just to go over the history, just for your sake, Erica.
Thank you.
We've had about 11 to 12 years of activity here. So I think there's a before and after picture. But a long time ago, USPS reconfigured it's to a no egress on SJ. They did not allow any access onto SJ going out. We've started getting complaints right away. Town board passed a resolution for several different offices to intervene. We had meetings with the USPS. USPS rejected any to relocate anything or to reconfigure. Higgins' office pressured USPS to resolve the issue. We had an independent traffic analysis done. Ultimately, Charles Schumer got involved. He came here. He had a press conference in front of that post office. And then finally, the USPS started making changes, and that's how it was reconfigured to what it is today. Believe it or not, what it is today is a lot better than what it was. I don't know if you were here at that point.
I saw the construction happening,
Okay.
so I kind of lived through that for a very short period of time.
So let me just go over the before and after. So this is what it was to remind everybody. So Justin Inn coming off SJ used to have a drop-off collection right there. And then it was still a no left out. And still had people who did not follow those instructions at that time. And then ultimately it's what you see today, which is a more defined right out. Although you can tell from the disturbance on the ground, people are abusing it and turning left out of there. But now you've got the ability to go out to SJ and utilize the signal to exit. In terms of what that did for accidents, whoops. So this is years and years of accident data. And there was a lot of accidents internal in the parking lot, but also at that intersection that we're talking about now, Dan Troy and the Sheridan Drive curb cut. A lot of accidents at SJ. Not so much anything here. So here's what it is in the last 12 months. We've got one rear end. We've got one conflicting left accident. We've got two rear ends on SJ, and I think the biggest difference is you've got two accidents related to people exiting USPS and trying to make it over to Wegmans. USPS did not have any ability to modify the Wegmans Drive curb cut, but that needs to be relooked at to try to prevent that type of movement. But overall, accidents I think have gone down. We'll continue to review. I don't know, Captain, if you can speak on that, or if you've noticed that I didn't see anything come up internal in that parking lot, which is kind of odd.
Yeah. I only noticed what you did as well on SJ, that driveway coming out, people going across the way.
Right.
Which I believe, if I remember way back, that was a concern of ours as well, but they just weren't able to address it, so.
Correct.
But there's nothing that I could see any left coming out of the post office.
Okay.
Honestly, we haven't, it's been a little while since we have sat there. We did do a considerable amount of enforcement over the last 6 years. We've been getting complaints. I know that was a go-to spot for our guys, but honestly, we've not been there probably in the last 6 months. But we haven't had any issues either. We've got plenty of work to do elsewhere.
Right. There is a no left turn sign at that curb cut on Sheridan, directly across, I believe, as well as at the driveway itself. I think people know exactly what they're up to, and they're just disobeying. I think that concludes my little spiel there, Chairman.
Okay. With that, we'll open up the public comment period to Erica Brzezinski.
Very good. Hi, everyone. I'm Erica Brzezinski. I live at 412 Dan Troy Drive, which is right on the corner of Dan Troy and Sheridan. So I can actually look out of my kitchen window at any time during the day and see all of the traffic that is either forming or people disobeying, whatever signals or traffic laws that are up. So a couple things just to bring to everyone's attention. Speeding on Sheridan Drive tends to increase as the weather gets warmer and warmer, right? As we see across probably Western New York. We see a lot of speeding that happens between Youngs, Belvoir, SJ, Evans, and Hopkins, and those are the locations where there's actually lights. So when people are trying to get past Dan Troy, they are speeding from Belvoir to SJ. And in between that section is also where the post office is. So if you're trying to turn on our street, which is Dan Troy, there's a very small turn lane, which is also backed up by a turn lane onto SJ. So just this past week, and I have pictures, someone actually has happened multiple times, people actually come down the median towards SJ, go into oncoming traffic to go around us, and go back into the turn lanes in the SJ. It is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. When you have children in the car, when you have people crossing the street, it is very difficult and very dangerous. So that's my first thing. But there's speeding throughout there very early in the morning and through the evening just because people are trying to beat the lights and there's no one sitting there patrolling. The illegal turns that are still coming out of the post office tend to become very dangerous for all of us trying to exit Dan Troy. I have neighbors that are much older and they no longer even go to our corner to turn right or left. They will go down Dan Troy and go to Quantico and through the streets to go be onto Hopkins or to the other side streets to the lights. It's extremely dangerous there as well. The other issue is when you're turning out of our street, because people are speeding down the median and crossing over into our turn lane into Dan Troy, trying to get to SJ to go to Wegmans or to the post office. You don't know if they're turning left into the post office because they know that they're not supposed to anymore. You don't know if they're trying to turn and get around you. So then there's diversion of people going over to the right, over to the left into oncoming traffic, as I mentioned before, and then we're kind of stuck. On top of that, there's also do not block the road, which is Dan Troy. People block that all the time. So whether you're trying to get out and turn a left, some people will stop there and not block, so people will creep out trying to turn left, but because people are barreling down that median, people get T-boned because they don't know that they're not supposed to be in that lane because they're trying to go through the Dan Troy Drive turn signal and then go into the SJ. So I live in that house right on the corner there. Yeah, right there. Not that corner house, the one to the right there behind those shrubs. Also with medians, I'm not sure if there's an option or an opportunity to look into raised medians like we have on Transit Road, but that's one thing that we're looking at. And there's continuing issues with the Starbucks traffic that lines up on Sheridan Drive that goes all the way back to SJ. And now with Aldi's, we are very concerned because of the traffic patterns that nobody's going to be getting in and out of anywhere. So now you have people going in and out of the post office through their parking lots. You have people cutting from the post office across to Wegmans, and as you guys had said, from Wegmans over into the post office. I'm very challenged at trying to drive safely in that neighborhood, in that area. I have photos from last Wednesday and Thursday of same thing happening, people barreling down the median, making illegal left turns. And I have been in contact regularly with the Amherst Police Department. I've tried using Facebook. I've tried documenting and sending videos and photos here, and I have all of that here as well. So if you'd like copies of that, I can leave these with you. But I've also submitted to Chris everything that you saw. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak on this item? None being heard or seen, we'll open up close the public comment period and open it up to the board for discussion. I don't disagree. Yes. Yep, we're all Amherst residents. Yep. So we are familiar with this area. We know that it is a regular occurring thing. Yes, one of the ways that you could probably correct some of the issues that were there would be to put a raised median down the center of Sheridan Drive. Not sure that New York State DOT would consider that. What I would probably say to that, if New York State DOT did decide to put a median down the center of the road, the access to Dan Troy would probably be closed off, right? There wouldn't, that gap wouldn't be there anymore, and you'd have to go, you wouldn't be able to make a left into the street, and you wouldn't be able to make a left out, and you'd have to go around, as you said your neighbors are currently doing, to go to Quantico and out and around. So there is that to go with it. Chris, I do know that from an agenda item that we had back in either January or February, based on concerns we had about the night time, overnight hour timing of the signal at Sheridan and Youngs Road, that New York State DOT responded back to us that they were looking at a signal coordination project on Sheridan Drive between Transit and the 290.
Yes, I recall that.
So what that means, we don't know. We just know that New York State DOT is aware of issues in that corridor with signal timing, and they are doing a traffic study analysis in that area, potentially looking at smart signals or doing something through that stretch or corridor to better time the signals, or maybe even potentially install smart signals at some point in there. So again, we do know that New York State DOT is looking at the area already based on other projects that we've sent over to them. So we don't know what they're going to do, though. They don't tell us. I did pre-talk to Chris on this conversation, and one thing that I did suggest to him, not sure if it's really going to help that much, but everybody was in agreement on this project when they redid the post office that it should be a left-hand turn out of the post office only. And if you look there, there are 2 turning arrows in the center median right there that kind of give you the indication that you can make a left-hand turn into the post office from there. So I would kind of recommend that we send a letter to New York State DOT asking them to hatch that area out in the middle of the center, indicating that cars should not be in that area, in that turning lane. And then they could put the left and right, the 2 left turn arrows on the other back behind the hatch mark. So that is something that we can refer to DOT and ask if they will do. Hopefully they will, and hopefully that will help. But other than that, for the rest of the board, I know Chris did put information in our packet about the concerns of the intersection, cross traffic across SJ from the post office to Wegmans. Looking at potentially, if any improvements are done there with Wegmans or other areas, extending that center island median out to prevent the ability to go across the road.
Yeah, I've got that somewhere.
So what you see there is you see a car that's lined up in the middle, car coming across the intersection, installing the pork chop in Wegmans driveway so that a car would not be able to go directly across. And then extending that median out to help with some of the accident prevention in that area to prevent that movement.
So where the left and the right turn lanes are out of Wegmans, people also go, now they shoot straight across. Yes. So there is no, and they're crossing traffic, people are going straight, they're figuring out how to get into the post office, they're turning left into Wegmans, because people can use that entrance into Wegmans to turn left as well, which I know that would be mitigated by putting in medians, but that's something we might.
Yeah, and they probably will continue to do that, and there's no way that you could block that, prevent that, or block that off with how it is configured. My assumption is that on April 13th, which is tomorrow, you have the grand opening of Aldi and the other plaza. So I'm assuming there's going to be more cross-traffic cutting through those parking lots, trying to go between Wegmans and Aldi and the 2 neighboring plazas. So it will be interesting to see what happens there, and some additional mitigation may need to be looked at. And then the other issue that I know that exists there, because I've seen it, is the car stacking for the Starbucks drive-through that prevents traffic movement in that parking lot. I don't know if there's something that can be done with the plaza owner or with the Starbucks, with the town, asking for them to somehow reconfigure or come up with a better traffic plan movement. I know that something was done with the Starbucks up on Transit and Maple, and they changed the way cars are moving in that parking lot because of backups happening to Transit Road and Maple, and they have them looping around the building now. So again, not sure if that's something that we could look at, or the town can approach the Starbucks and Plaza owner there for better traffic flow in the parking lot for the Starbucks. Other than that, it is a New York State DOT road. So again, our hands are kind of limited as to what we can do with the turning movements, and we are in a better place than we were before. So with that, I'll open it up to the rest of the board for comments, concerns, recommendations, next steps. We're a mighty quiet bunch this evening.
I do like the hatching idea, your first idea that you mentioned. I like that. I think that's a good solution for that particular problem. The pork chop solution, I think that would probably work. I don't know. I'm somewhat skeptical for some reason on that, but the hatching in particular, I do like.
Yeah, I think if the pork chop went in the perfect place, it could be helpful. But remember the problem, so the original concern we had with that was we wanted it to go further back so no one could try to cut over all those lanes of traffic. And then we were fully convinced, which would happen, that people would go the wrong way on traffic just to get around that. And then you have a real, like, then that's actually like far more dangerous. So that's why we didn't suggest that to begin with. I mean, I guess if it's in the right spot, it could help. Yeah.
Yeah, I only showed it this short in terms of a median extension just to allow for left-turning vehicles into the post office, the ability to kind of queue in the middle. I mean, it could be extended, but you'd have a vehicle. You know, I didn't want a vehicle sitting here, and if it's congested in the northbound, then the southbound congestion might block into the intersection. So I kind of like the idea of a pull-off, but yeah, you're right. We wouldn't want somebody to try to maneuver like that.
Sure.
So if you're coming down SJ heading towards Sheridan Drive, you turn left now to right into those drivers that go up around and take a U-turn. With this particular,
I don't
They
follow.
would that be the only option then to get, I mean, there's no other way to get to Wegmans.
Well, there's the further back, you know, there's the further back entrance. Well,
There's another entrance.
yeah, there's another entrance. Yeah.
Nope, at the front of the store.
Right here.
There's an entrance there.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean closer to the front of the store?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's the way they should be headed.
Also, I mean, we got to remember if we tried to implement something like that, I guess we wouldn't have to, but we have to. We
Have to be
would.
Wegmans.
Yeah, we'd have
We'd
to
have to
go
force
to.
Wegmans
We'd
to
have
do
to
it.
force Wegmans to do it. And yeah.
I'm more concerned about the entry, to be honest with you, and
Sure.
people
Sure.
lefts and rights trying to get in and out of our street. I mean, we have people that actually, my neighbors across the street, because they have that opening onto Sheridan, people will drive through their driveway. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, just,
Not have that exposure to Sheridan Drive, so we don't think about it. But we do have cars that take left-hand turns, and we have 3 massive trees in the corner of our lot in order to prevent them from barreling into the front of our house, should anyone ever kind of take that turn the wrong way. There have been several accidents, whether it's been ice out or snow, where there have been people getting in on the corner.
I mean,
right, it's just, this queuing distance for the left turn is just way too short for the amount of vehicles turning left, and that's, but it would come at the loss of this left turn dedicated for Dan Troy, and, you know, we would have a similar situation that we do on Tim Hortons on Maple, you know, where people are turning left into a left turn lane for a different direction, which we don't want.
the end, personally, I think your solution here at the end of the day is a raised median that blocks off anybody from the ability to go left into the post office or left out of the post office, blocks off the left turn into Dan Troy and the left turn out of Dan Troy, and then also extends that turning lane for SJ further back, probably to the plaza almost. I mean, that's probably the only way you're ever going to prevent the lefts
But
to do
that'll-
that, but there's a lot to do that.
That'll add U-turn somewhere else, though. You have to keep that in
Correct.
mind.
Right. And then you'll have people turning into the plaza to go over to the post office instead, conflicting with the Starbucks traffic, and it's just it's a high-density area with not a lot of room, and people are going to do what people are going to do.
It all changes tomorrow.
So at this point, Chris, we can send the letter to DOT requesting the hatching.
Yes. So what's the ask? Look at the median, look at potentially striping that hatching.
Can we put in a,
We can notify them of the speeds, signalization, like you mentioned, continue with the coordinated signalized plan.
can we put spikes in? One-way spikes on the driveway?
Maybe mention the raised median as well in that letter, see how they react to it.
Right.
Please get it in writing.
Sorry, on the last business that you guys had addressed, are there
One of those?
We can ask. I thought the reason that was there was simply because it was a fire hall.
No.
Typically, like, when I look at bigger cities, they do like a crisscross
Right.
We do
pattern.
it. Yep.
So this is the abnormal way to use this. So she's right. You would normally reserve these for intersections, and you can either do the big X or you can implement these. Have to.
I don't know of any place else we have one of
Yeah.
those in the town.
Yeah, I think that only exists in Amherst in front of the fire halls. So you're right in other cities. But I don't know if that's a thing here, right? Yeah, I mean, also block not do doesn't make sense for various grammatical reasons, but whatever.
I mean, I know in New York City they have the,
they're there.
there they are.
So, and I'd have to look at the state supplement to see which ones are allowed. Obviously, they put the block not do, but they might be able to do one of these crisscross.
Yep, we can put that in the letter, Chris.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think the options are limited. Obviously, we see a lot of traffic that is on the shoulder of the road that's making the left-hand turn into the driveway based on the grass being removed. That's in the right-of-way of the road, but don't think you could put any obstruction.
And
We wanted
we
to.
asked the post office to close that off, and they
Yes.
refused.
They refused.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
That was a whole thing with the federal government.
Because that's a logical solution.
Right, no, but I was just, like, if there was more curbing or something built up on that driveway, that would make it
Like, or the spikes.
little spikes, one-way spikes, like when you return your rental car.
Yeah, we even
like
try
the-
we even try to make it more exaggerated, and they settled with this.
Need to put a big rock on the corner, but you can't do that.
Pottery.
Pottery rock. A foam
Drivers
planter.
are just too close to Sheridan, right?
Yeah. The fake rock they've got in that plaza.
Up past you a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I think this is a start.
I mean, Sheridan Drive does have curbing.
This is a start.
So they're going up the curb to do it.
Yeah, we even looked at this at one point.
That was the original one, and they did.
Originally asked for that.
Yeah, they did not like that.
But it's supposed to be an exit only going out.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there is the one that was done at the McDonald's at Sweet Home and whatever that is, one block in, where they really made that turn that you can't make the.
Yeah.
Sweet Home and Sweet Home and Sheridan.
What, the McDonald's?
The McDonald's.
Yeah, they still do it.
Yeah,
They
that,
did it pretty bad though.
Yeah.
I think that one resulted in a lawsuit too.
Okay, so we don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Because everyone will stop.
No, the county.
Okay. So that's what we can do at this point and see what DOT comes back to us with. Okay? You've got the traffic department.
Phone rings all day long, so, unfortunately, it's such a heavily congested area, it's difficult to even stop cars. Can you imagine trying to add to that congestion, a police car stopping a vehicle in that area?
It's dangerous.
It's gonna create gridlock too. If it is congested, the speeds kind of take care of themselves to some extent. I know you wrote in there about drag racing or something. But like, what did you mean by that? Is this like an organized activity, or is this?
It's pretty regular. I don't know who the cars are, obviously, but you hear the mufflers and everybody else revving their engines, and they just got it from probably the red light over on Hopkins, all the
Just
It's a,
Yeah, so,
not always there at
Without fires.
yeah, exactly. So I don't, I'm trying to give everybody as much information as I can without being a nuisance. We're worried, we have young children that live on the street, the neighborhood is turning over. People are buying homes that are young families.
Are you talking Dan Troy
I'm
or
Dan.
Sheridan Drive?
So Dan Troy and Sheridan Drive, so they usually come blind, like I can't even walk, I walk my dogs down Dan Troy Drive, and people are doing 45 down our street. And I look at them and I'm like, really? They keep going, and I'm like, okay. So, on days when, it's snow or there's ice on sidewalks, you can't walk there, people are always walking the street, and there's always a chance that someone can get hit. I mean, you're not supposed to walk on the street, but people are trying to get out. So, it's just unfortunate, and they did request a speed trailer, they put it in, but it wasn't hooked up to anything.
It wasn't up there.
It never showed a speed, so it never showed,
Well, what time of year was it?
it was last spring.
Depending on the time of the year, this with the speed trailer, it's run, it'll work for 24 hours on its battery, but if the sun doesn't shine for that week, it won't recharge itself. So I can certainly put it on our list
That'd be great.
for the spring here.
okay, so that will close item number 2. With that, we have nobody else signed in for this evening, so we will move to item number 1, which is Main Street near I-290 pedestrian safety and snow removal. Chris, I believe there was also an article on this today in the Amherst Bee. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to read it, but you pointed that out to me. I'm not sure if others saw that or not.
Yeah, I do have a scanned copy of it on the screen. Essentially, let's just go over the actual ask. So we received a resident email. He referenced a past news article to push changes at the I-90 interchange with Main Street between Snyder and Eggertsville. He asked for 3 things. One, who's responsible for the snow and ice removal on the overpass? Else both can respond to that when it comes time. Likewise, who's responsible for snow and ice removal adjacent to businesses? Our building liaison, Bill, can respond to that specifically. And then 3, update us on improvements at the interchange. So I reached out to the supervisor's office, and sure enough, this article was just about to be posted. It went out today. So it's essentially continuing to push DOT for changes at that interchange, eliminating, and I don't have the master plan here, but eliminating multiple points of ingress and egress.
Where did they want to put oxygen on there?
No Hawk, did it?
Oh.
I didn't say Hawk, no.
I was referencing Main Street.
Oh, okay. You put a hawk signal like hesitant in Maine, oh my lord.
No Hawk.
Good.
So simplifying this interchange so it's a lot less cloverleaf and put signalized intersections here and consolidate some of those points of ingress and egress onto the ramps to the 290. So that's my update. And Al, do you want to talk about snow?
Yeah, as far as the actual sidewalk that goes over the overpass, even though that is state road, it is the town's responsibility to clear that. The problem in our situation is, like I said, our employees that are plowing the snow in the trucks, they're the ones that actually clean the sidewalks, so it's something that we don't, we have to do after the hours. It's a job that's taken care of the following day or a couple of days later, depending on the snowstorm. Our biggest concern too is we can't actually plow them because we can't push the snow over onto the thruway. So our options really are only to actually haul it out of there. And I know we do it probably at least 2 or 3 times every season when we get a lot of snow. We bring guys in overnight and we haul the snow out of there overnight. That's the only time we can get on that road with the traffic and everything else and try to do it in a safe manner for our guys also. So we've tried snow blowers, deploying it in trucks. It's a real hassle to deal with, but like I said, we found the best thing to do is to do it overnight. I know that the complaints came up this year. I mean, we hit major snowstorm in November, and then obviously we had the Christmas snowstorm, which was over 4 feet of snow, so obviously that increased the whole project that we had to deal with there. Which we did. We did actually bring trucks and get highways up there overnight working on it again. Like I said, we do the best we can with the manpower we have. It's just one of those things where unfortunately, it's a tough scenario to deal with, and the state did hand it off to the town, and it's our responsibility to take care of it in the winter.
Al, I have a question for you. I haven't seen the reconfiguration or what they plan to do at this intersection, but have you guys communicated, or has the highway department communicated to whoever's redesigning it that is an issue, like the snow storage aspect, and like made accommodations for that?
Not that I know. A lot of times, like I said, we don't get involved in the actual engineering part of that stuff. I know
Sure.
we've talked to the state. We've actually had people from the state at our place, and we've talked about the seriousness of trying to deal with the snow.
Yeah.
Even like I said, we've already tried to overnight take a high lift and try to push it, but the problem is we're so afraid of dropping snow that
Yeah.
oncoming traffic on the thruway. So it's a really hard thing to deal with.
Yeah.
It's not like a normal sidewalk where you just keep pushing and pushing. It's something that it can't go back and it can't go forward. It literally has to get picked up.
Okay.
So
And maybe there's some way that this board can make some sort of recommendation that when they do redesign it, there's a place to actually put the snow, for you guys to put the snow.
plus, like you said, you've got 4 lanes of traffic pushing up onto that bridge. So there's a lot of snow there. So even like all along those sidewalks, you can't believe the amount of snow that comes off all those lanes and piles up on the sidewalks. It's nearly impossible to do.
Well,
Too.
I'll take a page out of so for the 4 years I lived like outside of Detroit, what they do for this. I mean, this would be a huge financial endeavor, certainly, but could always try to install walking bridges. I mean, that's what they have, is they have parallel to the actual road bridges that can be walked across from sidewalk to sidewalk, so that never becomes, as big of an issue, particularly for pedestrians. And then the center part is where the snow would get pushed into, like the median area.
That would be a DOT thing.
That's a DOT thing, and that's a huge financial endeavor, but that is like across.
The cheaper thing would be to put a snow and ice melt system within the concrete.
Sure. But
But again, DOT won't do that since they've pushed this onto the town for maintenance.
just saying that is like I don't know if it's statewide, but definitely eastern state. That's a thing there.
So Chris, it looks like the proposed bridge condition sidewalk location is in the exact same location. It's just the ramp configuration that's going to change.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is conceptual, but correct.
Yeah.
Chris, is this part of the 290 thruway job to the south? Or would it be?
I'm not familiar with the 290 job.
Well, you got a major $100 million project that's been in planning.
Can you?
You got a major project to the south here where the 290 and the thruway come together. That's been in planning for 10 or 15 years. It was a $100 million job 10 years ago.
So the
If you
300
scroll
million job
down,
now.
I can't.
it's not that far from here.
It's the whole.
So no, I think this is a separate project completely.
Well, maybe it needs to be made one, then it might move ahead.
But if you read Copa's letter to the editor, it's
Yeah, well, yeah.
essentially pushing DOT to progress these plans.
Good. Well, maybe they'll figure out how to marry the two jobs together.
Maybe.
Okay.
For everybody's information, on any DOT plans that, for a bridge or a highway that runs through a village or a town, there's always a sheet in those plans called maintenance jurisdiction. Everything is spelled out who takes care of what. It's in every job, and it's, the village of Williamsville can't seem to get it through their head, but they're part of that. They're responsible for cleaning the sidewalks and snow storage areas and the parking lanes, and every year they seem to forget that. But it's on the plans.
Okay, so that's, snow is highway department, understand the challenges with that. The other concern that was there was for,
Businesses, snow and ice.
business snow and ice, and that is for Bill?
Yes, thanks, Eric. I looked at this when Chris had sent it over, and first off, I just wanted to, make sure everyone was aware that our department is complaint driven. So we unfortunately don't have the manpower going out to look for sidewalks that aren't shoveled. What we do is we respond to any complaint or any report where it has not been shoveled or cleared. In talking to the commissioner, what we have done is we will go out and give them 24 hours from the time the snow has stopped, because a lot of times we're getting a call in the middle of a snowstorm and it's still snowing. So it kind of defeats the purpose of going out. You don't really know, I shoveled today, but you didn't shovel tomorrow. The other thing, what needs to be addressed is we're working Monday through Friday till 4. A lot of the calls are coming in over the weekend or over a holiday weekend. And they expect immediate action. So we may not be getting the messages, or we may get an accumulation of messages come a Monday morning. And at that point, in some cases, the snow may have dissipated or melted, even in some cases where the weather has changed. So with that being said, we do get right out. We've even enabled additional help, a volunteer, if there's an abundance of, it wasn't as bad this year as far as snow complaints. Last year, we had a variety of inspectors go out, as almost overtime to help really, identify and get the issues, rectified. The other thing that we're doing, and I know Main Street was an issue, we actually had quite a few complaints that came through for that section that Benderson has purchased, between Fruhoff and Chateau Terrace, where we're actually going right to Benderson. We're calling them immediately, and we've made some contacts there where they send someone out right away and they get their contractor to clear the sidewalks. So we've had great results there. So that's actually helped expedite some of that as far as being cleared out. As far as what the town itself does, I pulled up, it looks like the only part of Main Street, and maybe Al, you can speak to that, is it's listed here as Zone 4. The boundaries along Main Street from Longleat Parkway to Etham Drive is what the town is clearing as far as Main Street.
For the sidewalk snow relief program?
Correct.
Yeah, so these are rear lot situations, and I don't know, about a decade ago, we instituted a sidewalk relief district, and where there's situations where people were unable to clear the snow. Essentially, this is a small district where these people pay tax and additional tax to have the highway department clear the snow along the rear lot. There's a couple of these instances throughout the town.
And I also I went to the village website as well, and they were responsible. We are now taking over some of the responsibilities of the village that we just started. I think around mid-February. From a property maintenance standpoint, a permitting standpoint, we're doing a lot of that work. So we kind of bypassed a lot of the snow that had kind of been over with at that point. But on their website, they do say here how they do hold any occupants of buildings to remove snow, hazardous ice within 24 hours, and then they hold them accountable to do so. I think it says here even that they levy tax on them, or on their tax bill and things of that sort. I didn't get any sort of list from them of what they were actually plowing, if they actually were plowing individual business addresses in the village, up and down Main.
They had a hard time keeping the sidewalks open on Main Street this year.
Right.
Okay. So does that address the 3 topics on here? A lot of this is outside of this board. Any other comments, concerns from the board? Chris, do you have what you need for the resident?
Do I have a what?
Do you have what you need for the resident? if they reach back out.
Do I have a, I can't.
You have what you need.
I mean, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, we will close item number 1. Item number 2 has been addressed. Item number 3, Dodge and Casey Road intersection request for westbound left turn lane. This is another intersection that comes before us, and Chris has more to share.
Okay, so the resident, I thought he or she would be here tonight, but in one request, they asked for consideration for left turn arrows. We'll take these separately. So the first one's at Dodge and Casey, where essentially it's trying to get, hold on one second, trying to get to the school, and would prefer to see a designated left at these signalized intersections. So Casey and Dodge. So here's the school, and the left being requested is right here. There is a left turn lane. It is signalized, but again, no left turn phase. So what do we do in these situations? Fortunately, we do have the MyoVision Smart Signals installed throughout the town, so we get to utilize this data. Inside your package is a slew of information that comes out of that, but I'll explain it to you. I know we've done this before on another item, but it'll give you, first off, the volumes at that intersection, showing each leg of the intersection and how much traffic is going through. We're continually collecting traffic data throughout the day, every day of the week. So here you can identify the AM peaks. From that, you can kind of get a good sense of how many lefts are coming on that leg. In addition to that, we can take a look at what are called split failures. And what I did is I did a comparison of a school day versus a non-school day. So if we look at a school day, and split failures are essentially, you know, how many vehicles are having the inability to get through that light on the cycle. So they have to sit there for another green. It combines because there's no left turn there now, so it's looking at both the lefts and the throughs in this direction, the westbound. So like I said, this is a school day. We're getting a split failure during the PM. It looks a lot worse than the AM of about 28%. If you look at a non-school day, whoops, wrong direction, you know, that's still about 20%. A lot more blue, which is spare capacity, so a lot less traffic going through there on a non-school day. So that's just a good indication on, but also you should look at those other hours. You know, there's not a lot of issue with people making the light and every other hour besides the peak hour. So are we going to install a left phase for the entire day or just those peak hours? So now we look at the data. We look at the criteria on how to establish a left turn. So like I told you, there was multimodal counts continuous, and we take a school day and we crunch the numbers and compare it to the criteria to establish a protected left turn lane. And it looks at delay, volumes, conflicts, and accidents. So when you look at delays, how many people are turning left? It's required that at least minimum 50 are turning left in order to necessitate a left turn phase. We are meeting that for both the AM and PM peaks. Greater than 50, yes, yes. We also look at opposing volume. So we take the lefts and multiply that times the opposing through, and we get this number. So that's essentially the multiplication of those two volumes. Is it greater than 50,000? No, both in the AM and PM. So already we're not meeting it. Then we also look at conflicts. These are any close calls, people cutting in front of people. Also, vehicle drivers beating the light. You know, right when it turns green, they quickly turn left. Or a second vehicle, right when that turns red, a second left-turning vehicle trying to beat that light would constitute as a conflict. Normally, we would stand out there and count those, but I looked at the video for a half hour, and I didn't see any type of conflicts occurring. Lastly, accidents. We want to make sure that the you need to have 5 or more left turn accidents within the 12-month period. We have, for this one, we had 2, and only 1 was related to a left turn. So no, we're not meeting that at all. Lastly, we take, great, those are all numbers, but what does it really look like? So we can look at the MyoVision itself. This is the MyoVision platform. We go right to that signal and pull up a video. These are all our smart signals in town, by the way. And here we are at this signal. And I've already recalled a specific day. And looks like, what do I want to look at? I'm going to look at the AM. So, which one is that? Oh, here we go. So now we're just trying to do an eye test, right? Here we go. We're approximately 7:39 right now, and here they're starting to pile up. And what I saw is essentially there are sufficient gaps for these vehicles that are queued up to go to the school to get through.
You said this was 7:30.
7:39, right? So here, this one car didn't make it. But obviously, even if you install the left turn phase, not every car goes when it's a heavy backup. So we take a look and try to find the worst possible one. This is probably the worst. And not everyone goes through, but it's pretty darn close. And again, this is at the exact, this is the peak. This is the worst case scenario. So in short, doesn't necessitate a left turn phase if you look at the criteria and just do the eye test.
Is this parents dropping their kids off too?
I have no way of knowing that, but one could surmise. I don't know.
I think every one of those
Better
cars
goes
is
away at
40
8
yellow.
o'clock, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so all of the information, all the data available to us indicates that the warrants are not met for a signal or a left turn phase at that intersection. So I would move to receive and file item number 3. Any further comments? Agreement,
I like the
disagreement?
MyoVision.
MyoVision is great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7-0 to receive and file. Moving to item number 4, similar concern, but now we are at North French and Dodge.
So this time I'm just going to skip right to the meat of it. This time the split failures are a little bit worse. But again, not terrible. We look at the criteria, and it is meeting it for the left turns. Number of left turns, yes. It is not meeting it for that 50,000. In fact, we're half of that. Conflicts, didn't see many. Accidents, of those 10 recorded, only 1 was related to left turn, so no, we didn't have 5 or more. And then we'll just jump right to the eye test and review the video, and we can switch that around. So north is to the top, and we are looking at this left turn. And let me just cheat a little bit and get right to the time. That's the worst case. Okay, 13:30 is bad. So of this half an hour, I'm going to take you to the worst. So here's where it starts to maybe back up, maybe 8 vehicles. But again, there's sufficient gaps to at least get at least half of these turning left. Nobody's waiting for more than two cycles. I could show you all the other cycles, but it's clearing out. This is the worst one. And those 4 are remaining. So that would be considered a split failure on those 4. But again, they clear out the next time it turns green. Any questions?
Any comments from the board? Anybody other than me want to make a recommendation how to move on this one? I said, does anybody other than me want to make a motion as to how we move on this one?
Roundabout?
Roundabout.
Receive and file.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So with that, Chris, again, the warrants are not met, so the data shows that it's not warranted at this point, so we will receive and file. Moving to item number 5, Lynette Lane, speeding concerns.
So this is part of Preserve at Muir Woods subdivision. And there's a request that came in specific to the speeds along Lynette. If you recall, when this came in years ago, this used to be a dead end. You can kind of tell the difference between the established street and this is the new subdivision. The connection was made. And I got 2 complaints, one from the new area and one from the old. Looks like neither of them could be here tonight, but we did deploy a speed counter mid-block. Those results are in your package and now going to be on your screen. Oops. And honestly, not too bad. 85th percentile was 31. It's posted at 30 miles per hour. And in the opposite direction, it was 33 miles per hour. So a little bit faster than 33 miles per hour. Total number of vehicles is 536 throughout the day. And the speeds over 40 are, there's no really discernible pattern. It's really throughout the day. Highest peaking around 12 noon. The requesting person also asked for this other area to be studied. Currently, there is some construction in that area, so we're going to hold off on that item until all that construction is done. That concludes my little report.
And they're a little fast, but not that fast.
Let's chalk it up to one of the neighborhoods that's going to be thrilled if we ever manage to get the speed limit down to 25. Because you're right, that's not that bad.
No.
Pretty impressive.
I mean, this was a concern when this came before us when they proposed building the neighborhood, that you had a dead-end street looped around, that it was going to increase traffic. So, yes, we're seeing the increase in traffic from the new houses being built. The speed is within the realm of normal of what we see in the town of Amherst for a residential street at 31 miles per hour and 33 miles per hour. You still have construction in that area as well, correct, Chris?
Say that again?
You still have construction in that area?
Only this area right here. There's an 8-lot subdivision that's going in right now.
8, that's all? The rest of it's fully built out?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, my thought on this is that if you had cut-through traffic that was speeding through that area, you would see them at the peak traffic times in the morning and in the evenings. Looking at when you're seeing the speeding cars come through there at the hours of a peak was at noon of the time that you're seeing the peak of cars speeding through there leads me to believe that it's the residents of the neighborhood that are speeding through their own neighborhood. So I would move to receive and file at this point.
Okay.
Moving to item number 6, it was withdrawn from the request. Item number 7 has already been addressed. So that goes to any other new business from the board to bring forward. I do have one question, Chris.
Okay.
With the new, the MyoVision signals do not control the actual timing of the intersection. They're just taking the data and then providing recommendations back, correct?
Correct. What you're referring to is called an adaptive system, where it figures out if there's ever-changing vehicles that are not making the light, so they'll change it on the spot. That is not happening in our system. This will allow us to study it and figure out trends and say, okay, we need to adjust the signal timing. What we've been doing is providing, especially on corridors, providing like Maple Road to GBNRTC to model it, and then let them kick out a signal timing revised plan, and then we put it in, we adjust the signal timings through the whole corridor, and then use the automated transportation traffic signal performance measures to identify any problems again after the retiming to see if they need readjustment. So it's an iterative process.
Okay. And then the intersection that we have, where I'm going with this is I just have a question really about the signal at Klein and North Forest. The signal that we have at Garrison and Worley.
Yeah, I've been asked by Dan in the village to look at that.
Well, no, actually, where I'm going with that is at the intersection of Klein and North Forest. You have a dedicated left turn lane coming from Klein to North Forest. You have a dedicated left lane, a dedicated right lane because it's a T intersection. You have 2 signal heads. Are you able to put, instead of green lights, are you able to put arrows on those green lights? Where I'm going with this is that when you're at Klein going onto North Forest, if you're in the right-hand turning lane and you're on North Forest making a left onto Klein, you have a protected left. So there's always cars that are making that right-hand turn without a right turn arrow, right, while that protected left is going, but then all of a sudden the cars start to go straight on North Forest. So I saw it today again, we're driving through there, all the cars were making the right-hand turn, thinking that the cars weren't going to go, and then all of a sudden the cars on North Forest start to go. Right, so I was wondering if we can change the signal configuration there so that you'd actually have 2 arrows, one for the left lane, one for the right lane, and when that signal is in the protected left phase from North Forest, if it would allow the green arrow in the right lane to stay. Kind of like we've done, I think, at this intersection. I probably have totally confused you, but
That's called an overlap phase, and you've got to program that into the signal. When you've got the right turn while the southbound left has a green arrow.
Right.
And then the right turn can get a green arrow. That's an overlap phase.
So you're saying here it's correct?
so you have the 2 signal heads that are there,
Yep.
right? So the right, when that left-hand turn coming from North Forest on the Klein, they're making the left on the protected
Yeah,
left.
right here.
The cars that are going right on
Yeah.
Klein to North Forest, they're going right, and the cars are stacked on the other
So
side.
you want this to turn or to a solid right arrow for this movement at the
Right,
same
'cause what ends
time
up
there's an
happening is
opposing
everybody
left.
just starts going while it's in that protected phase, and then all of a sudden the protection goes away, and everybody's still making the right, and the through traffic all of a sudden starts coming.
And then when northbound gets a green ball, then that right turn could turn to a flashing yellow.
Yellow or something there.
Right, for a permissive, well, actually, no, it should be red at that point, because it's
It
a
should be
right
red.
on, right on red. Mm, yeah, I mean, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so I don't know if we look at that potentially for our next meeting as an agenda item, or if it's something that can be looked at prior to.
Yeah, it would require a capital project to change those heads. I guess I'd need to look to see if there's an accident history, and I guess that's what you're asking for. So, send me an email and we'll look into it to see if there'd be a
Okay.
beneficial change.
I will send that to you. Any other new items?
I do actually have one new item. The traffic light at the corner of Main Street and Bailey. The pedestrian signal heads, I believe those are city-owned, if I recall correctly.
Bailey and Main Street?
Yeah, Bailey and Main.
That's a funky area.
City.
Depends on which one.
Yeah, I think they're I think they're city because they're black, like they're a different color. They ped heads don't work. They're I think they're just blank right now. So can we? I don't know. I mean, since they're not our signals, is there a way for us to bring it to the attention of the city that they do not work?
Normally I call NITEC, and NITEC provides that to the city.
Okay.
So shoot me an email tomorrow, tell me which ped heads don't work, and then I'll make the call.
Will do. Thank you.
Where's the town boundary, right? The intersection?
Through the middle of it.
We own
Wait, that's
right here.
Middle of the street.
Yeah. We have one corner.
Yeah, that's us.
Any other new items? None being heard, we'll close the new business section and move to old business. Old business, item number A, old business, item letter A, Campus Drive near Damon University. We are going to hold this item for the May meeting because the Damon people were not able to be here this evening. We're hoping they'll be able to attend in May.
Yeah, a couple small little updates. This was formulated as you guys requested and sent to Damon. Damon will further discuss this at our next May meeting. But I think this is what you guys asked for. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then also your Eaton changes. I don't know, Al, did the sign department do the changes at Eaton? Okay. So it looks like those are.
Fix that one sign.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll hold that for the May meeting. Item B, Sunset Court's resident survey results.
All right. So you guys asked me to send out a survey, and the responses are within your package, but essentially the survey looked like this. I can't remember how many we sent out, but a lot. So it directs them to this website, on the town's website, and it says, gives them links. First, we give them a link to this one. This is the roundabout option for Sunset. And then the next one was kind of a simple striping concept right through the intersection. During the public comment period, it was identified that Amherst Highway currently piles the snow in the center of this bulb as if it were this during the winter months. So if we went with a striping configuration like that, they'd have to figure out what to do with the snow, which I don't think you guys have an answer yet for that, but just keep that in mind. Yeah, lift it up and move it out, right? So people filled this out, gave an opportunity to comment, all those responses in your package, and what we came up with results is, well, first off, thanks, Greg, for providing a map of every response. Blue indicates option 1 roundabout, and orange/red is the striping configuration. And then the black is the don't do anything. In terms of
Chris, can you zoom in right at that location? I was interested to see how
Yeah.
many people who live on the circle.
It's kind of split, but if you had to look at the, I mean, it's 3 verse 3, maybe 3 verse 2.
And an abstention. Thank you.
Out of curiosity, which one is 163? Which is 163?
Right, this one.
Yeah, they were the one that said that one of their comments is like, this would be brutally unfair to specifically our house. But I actually think that on that spot, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it would have been the one to the direct south of that.
Okay.
Shortest.
So here's the pie chart, just to tell you percentage-wise. So 55, no, I don't think that's right. Here's the revised pie chart. %57 said mini roundabout, 4% said no change, 38% said do the striping. And so open it up for your comments. If you need to see the speed data, let me know.
If I may, it seems like the residents even of this neighborhood and on the particular area in question are very split on this. The one thing I did notice was that from the comments, it seemed like everyone was in favor of the sidewalk being installed. That was the one thing that people seemed to agree on. So at least I'm leaning towards kind of the do nothing option and installing in terms of the circle itself, and then installing the sidewalk as, yeah, I'm not sure if that would be like, the town doing it as a capital project, or if that would be, ordering it in from the homeowner. But that seems like in my opinion, the thing that would be the best choice.
You said that it seemed like they were pretty evenly split. I mean, it's like 60-40. So, I mean, to me, 60 is a fairly high number, and then there's 3 that are right there on the circle. I'm leaning towards the roundabout personally.
So my concern on the roundabout is, can you put the roundabout in? If there is a speed concern, and traffic concern of people going through there, can you put the roundabout in and then have 6 driveways backing into the roundabout? You're going to force the cars. I mean, I'm in favor of this, to be honest with you. But my concern is that those 6 residents backing out of their driveway will have little to no visibility backing out of their driveway because you're forcing all the cars right on top of them. You're not going to see the car visibility coming. If you're coming this way, you're not going to see those cars backing out of the driveway. You're not going to see them. It's almost going to force the residents in those driveways to have to back their cars into their driveways to always pull out straight.
If they're piling the snow in the center during the winter, then essentially it's operating as a roundabout now during certain seasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, you mentioned you have the speed data. Do you also have the volumes? I'm just wondering how many cars in a day we're talking about.
I feel like I remember it being like 4,000 or something, and I remember thinking that that was a lot.
So just
Yeah.
More than I thought it was.
That's not right.
Yeah, that's a lot of cars.
That's something's kooky. It should be this one, 521 plus 661.
Okay.
Times 4, of course.
Al, you say that when the highway plows that, they plow it to the middle during the winter?
Yes.
You then go back through there after the fact with a high lift and truck and remove it?
Yeah, that is one of the first courts that we do call snow, as we start to call it. But like I said, that's work that has to be done after everything else is taken care of, so.
So it's probably like 48 hours or so after a snow event that it's stacked up there.
So again, we're looking at 32, 33 miles per hour.
But I mean, the speed is one thing, but the strange configuration with that was the bigger issue here.
But are we making it a stranger configuration?
We're absolutely making a strange configuration. It's weird to begin. I mean, hey, I'm not gonna finally have everyone vote in favor of my roundabouts for me not to support it. So, was one person on this really like 60 miles an hour? Is that right?
I liked Mrs. Underwood's letter. And it's a figure at the entrance to Coles. Can you show that, Chris?
Yeah, can you get on mic?
I went over here the other day.
Can you hit the microphone? Just
Yeah.
I went over here the other day, and of course, Wegmans got it closed off because they're cleaning their pond out, so I couldn't really see what the purpose of this road is, but this is a private road for Chris, okay?
This one right here.
Yes. And evidently, if we can believe Mrs. Underwood, the people are driving through the neighborhood, through her neighborhood, so they can get into this entrance to Wegmans and Kohl's, okay? And I went over there to try and observe some traffic, and of course, there wasn't any, because the road's closed. But I'm wondering if they aren't also using it to get out to Niagara Falls Boulevard.
Yeah.
And it's a very nice, convenient cut-through that Kohl's has built, or Wegmans, it looks like to me.
That is still closed?
Yes.
How long is that going to be closed for, Chris? Do we know?
About a month and a half. I think it's a culvert project.
A big pond back in there. It's like a river.
And sorry, what exactly is closed right now?
That Naples, it's Naples Lane at the bend, right? Oh, that's that one that's closed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, that, you would think that would be a truck entrance coming in off of Niagara Falls Boulevard. But bringing it back to Naples, now you're allowing the cars to come through, and this road that runs behind the stores, that goes all around the plaza. You can go there, up to there, and go to the parking lots in the front. Or I suppose park in the back. I have no knowledge of what was permitted when the site plan was submitted for this thing, but I'm almost wondering if that shortcut shouldn't be cut off. But I will go back there after the road opens and see what I can find out.
I want this paragraph studied.
What are they permitted for? What are they permitted for? Coles and Wegmans. That's their driveway. And that's supposed to be a driveway for trucks, or fire trucks, or residents, or?
Full access. Connects, a full neighborhood in Niagara Falls Boulevard.
Fire department needs it for second access to all those buildings.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to take away fire protection. I'm trying to get to the bottom of why,
To be honest with you,
what draws the traffic down there.
the people that cut through there, are living.
Right.
I mean, it's not a cut through from Taiwan Creek or anything. It's not even here. But anybody that lives back in that subdivision, that's how they would get their chickens and goals.
Really nothing else up there to use that for, other than
private road.
It's all the traffic from Sunset. It's the new neighborhoods that are back there. It's the Sunset people going to the boulevard. Their other option is to go down Sun Ridge.
Right,
Right, so
right
you
here.
got all those houses that are back up there. They can go through there to get to the Wegmans. Otherwise, they have to go all the way out to East Robinson, Robinson to the boulevard, and all the way around.
If I live on Winterbrook though, kind of a line about to go down to Sunridge, over Sunset, down to Naples, across the board. I mean, it's not necessarily an easy.
No, it's not an easy move, but if you're going to Wegmans, or from those,
Sure.
yeah, you're gonna, it's an access road to get there at the end of the day. I understand the concern that it's still there. I know we want to take traffic calming measures. I know we're looking at this because of the weird configuration, but I still, it's 1,000 cars on the area. It's not a high-speed area from what we're seeing, and the cost to install the roundabout there is going to be significant. What are we gaining? There's other spots where we have bigger speed problems. I know the residents would want it, but there's a lot of residents that want a lot of things. Ultimately, if we did it, we would have to find money, find highway, find everything else, so we can give the recommendation, but that doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. So consensus is the residents are in favor of this concept based on 60% coming back. This board at the end of the day is in favor of this concept, so it's drawn, it's there. Now it would be highway support, funding from the town board, and
Final design.
final design. I mean, it'd ultimately be the town board through a capital project to determine if this warrants a capital project based on other things that have come before this board, other things that need to be done. Is where does it stand on the priority list?
My one comment.
It's not our decision to make.
Exactly.
Right?
My
Our
one
decision to
comment
make
is
if
that
we're in favor of this, I don't think we can worry about the budget. The concerns, we can send the recommendation to the town board that this is what the residents have come to us. Residents are in favor of. This board is in favor of it as well,
absolutely.
based on the concerns that are there. And unfortunately, pass the buck to the people with the money and the budgets that are out there to determine where it stands in the order of capital projects.
I think it is wholly and completely outside our purview, number one. Number two, not something that we should ever be taking into consideration simply because that is not
That's
our
not our-
bullet point to consider in a pros and cons decision.
Can I suggest making it two separate things? One is the cul-de-sac, and then the other is the sidewalk, and maybe they can be two separate projects, because it sounded like everybody wanted the sidewalk.
The sidewalk, I think, can just be sent in, Chris, to the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
I'm
Committee
asking
reg-
for some, on May 8th, I'm asking for funding for some sidewalk work for these types of small little nitpicky things. So I'll try to get this into the scope.
And-
It shouldn't be a problem.
And, it's the lawyer in me, but I am not opposed to saying we suggest Plan A, the cul-de-sac, but in the event that the town board finds that there is not enough finance to allocate it, we suggest Plan B, the painting, if they do not deem that there are funds available for Plan A. There's nothing wrong with putting out more than one option and saying we prefer this one, but hey, here's Plan B if you can't do it. That's how every legal argument I've ever made is structured.
I'm not sure I'm in favor of the striping.
I don't like the striping at all.
I've been putting out that concept.
I mean, if we did the striping, whenever highway plows, we're gonna have a stack of snow in the middle of the
Yeah,
striping,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is,
Yeah, that's fine.
So
But it is a,
I would move to, I'll make the motion, we refer this to town board for consideration based on recommendation from this board from a traffic calming, traffic safety, traffic calming initiatives, which we are trying to push here on this board to do, and from the input that we have from the residents through the survey that they are also in favor of it. And I would move that we're not in favor of, it would be either this or to leave as is.
that's fine.
I second that motion.
So motion by me, second from Jennifer. Any further comment?
Can you roll call vote?
What was that? Roll call vote.
Oh, sure.
So we'll roll call vote. Jennifer?
Aye.
Aye.
Max?
No.
Eric is yes.
Aye.
Aye.
So 6-1.
Okay, so I will gather all the data and your recommendation and send it to either Mike or the town board as a whole. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. Okay.
With that, we'll move to old business C, which is member attendance. This was a carryover hold from last meeting. I believe it was last meeting that we,
Oh,
Brought
just
this
as an announcement, Michelle Nagel resigned. I don't know if I told everybody that.
okay, so our board currently has 9 members. Chris, just so you know, on our letterhead, we should remove Michelle's
Yeah.
name.
We'll continue to look at the letterheads and make sure she's off.
So with that, our board currently has 9 members, which leaves us with 1 open spot. If there's any interest or anybody knows of anybody, they can reach out to Chris or Councilmember Zucala to fill that open seat. So with that, just a reminder to all board members that by our bylaws, we do have the bylaws that state that if you're going to miss, it's more than 3, Chris? 3
3 consecutive.
3 consecutive, then there's reason for medical leave of absence that you can request up to 6 months or 6 absences. But then there is the other bylaw that states that you can only miss 5 meetings over 13 months. We do have members that are that are over the 5 meetings missed in 3 months. We do need to have a minimum of 6 members here in order to have a quorum, in order to be able to move forward with the meeting. With us being down 9 members, that means if we have more than 3 members missing, we would not have a quorum to be able to move forward with any action during the meeting. So I just remind all the members that you have made a commitment to be on the board. Those are the bylaws of our board of attendance being here for the obligations that you've made. Any other comments regarding attendance, concerns? Yep, sure.
I appreciate the work that all of you guys do. This is, in all fairness, mostly thankless task. I've been enough in these meetings, and you guys have been enough in these meetings where I know that someone comes here and tell you traffic is right on my street and everything is going just fabulous. And it's tough to give up evenings of once a month to do all this. I know that, and I appreciate it. Of course, it's just one person, but still, I just want you guys to know I appreciate it. And, I'm gonna do my best to fill the open seats as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you.
I haven't had anybody reach out to me yet, but I'll put the word out through social media and on locations, because I think this board functions best when it's fully staffed.
Yep. Thank you. Any other old business to rekindle? Chris, I do have one thing, and this is going to go back way back in time. If you could look into it potentially and maybe just let me know. We did a bunch of work probably right before COVID regarding the intersection of Hopkins and Klein, that the county was looking at potential capital project there. They were going to do some work study there. Just curious, based on the state of some of the curbing, road conditions in that area, if there is any action from county to move forward any study work that was stopped with COVID, if you know anything there.
I don't know of any action.
Okay. It's just aged and needs some little TLC through there.
Signal light poles are in the way.
Yeah. I just know we had a meeting one time and we went through the whole corridor, looked at all the different spots
Yeah.
to send recommendations over to the county because they were going to look at a project there, and it's
Right.
another
we-
spring coming, and it seems like still no action in that area from the asset they had of us. Other than that, no other old business for me. Anybody else? None being heard, we will move to site plans for our liaisons that are with us this evening that are not involved in site plans. Thank you again for your participation and attendance this evening, and we will see you in May.
I've got,
This is the whole reason. It's our favorite part of the meeting. It's the one time where we, everybody is happy.
not a big deal. We just
You always seem to have the answers. What are we gonna do first, Dodge Road? Good. Get warmed up on that.
Nobody knows it's public. Waiting for lunch. People know that people actually, if there were more.
That's,
You've been asking the entire time. The contract, Mr. Cromwell, Mr. Cromwell, we're doing it.
But I only want to calm those people down, not me.
Stop. You're making too much sense.
that's a wide street, though.
It's a 40-foot right away.
Yeah. That's, because that's a boulevard.
Yeah, I don't know why it's designed that way. There's one other street.
Yeah, that's right. I go out tonight.
Is that called a boulevard too, possibly?
Want to do 480 first?
Yes. Okay. This is the old Arbordale nursery. Is it closed already? I think so. We were out there maybe a week or two ago and signs up saying that they were having something on sale. So go and get your stuff for spring. Arbordale. They're clearing house.
Is it the owners of Arbordale that's there?
No, this is the green organization.
We're turning it into a parking lot.
This is 112 residential units being proposed. You'll see along Dodge Road, and there's two masses. These are two-story townhouse buildings. Each of them have 9 units, so each of them 9 townhomes. Clubhouse, maintenance building, small dog park for amenity, and then along the 990, 5-story residential multi-family units. So kind of a mix of densities here on one site. What our department is exploring, and Chris can probably talk more about this, is a connection to the east. This project is also owned by the Green Organization, or was developed by the Green Organization. So this, to us, seems like a logical connection.
Well, and it's connected now.
Yeah, and it's connected now, but to kind of memorialize the physical connection as a plan.
So we're always trying to eliminate curb cuts where we can. It's referred to as access management. So there is potential, since there's a common owner, to potentially consolidate these two, have a shared access, or just close one or the other. Why does this keep doing this?
So you'll notice too, when this comes back up, Chris, if you want to, so.
Just real quick,
the
piano store? The piano store there, does that go away too?
So that is gonna stay, from what we can tell. It's not represented, it's just kind of off the western boundary of this project. So I'm not sure if that's gonna become a future acquisition or if it's gonna
They're just gonna be kind of shoehorned in there.
lay there, yeah. But you'll notice too that that's a pretty large chunk of vacant property that's undeveloped. So what we're gonna try and get them to do is also connect access to the west. Give us a stub or at least a reservation with an access easement so that in the future, if that western portion of the site is ever, or eastern parcel is ever developed, we have, again, more access management and logical connection. So,
That sidewalk is gonna connect to the sidewalk that's stubbed on the other one.
yeah, Chris, can you go back to the aerial?
So there won't be like a gap.
Yes.
There's
yep,
only-
they'll connect. Yep, through all the driveway openings too, so. They have some tweaking to do. They're not quite jiving with the fire department as far as what they need to see. So this may change, the massing of the buildings may change, and some circulation may change on site depending on how the fire department wants to get their trucks around. But this is kind of what we're gonna be looking at. We might have them break these buildings up to create kind of a little parklet in between, just so that there's not really like wide massings on Dodge Road, but that's this in a nutshell. They're almost
So-
perfectly parked with I think two per unit at least, some extra spaces left over. And these are all rear loading driveways for these townhomes. So this frontage would be
Dodge facing.
your front door will
Yeah.
face Dodge, but all the units will be rear loaded for the garages.
So in terms of the site itself, they did do a decent job with pedestrian movements, I thought. I did ask them to come up with a stop sign warrant analysis at Dodge and Robin. I haven't heard back from them. I just wanted that for the record. I don't think it's going to meet it, but it's good to have. So aside from this curb cut and the connection to the east and west, I don't really have anything. But I'm open to your suggestions, comments.
I do have two comments on this one.
Tom, why isn't that drawing in their study instead of this cartoon thing that
I mean,
they have? So it's nothing.
Dan, as I've circulated in the past, this is always available on the website. We have a link for all these plans if you want to look at the full versions. Unfortunately, we can't circulate the paper
Scott, why don't we have something like that?
in the TIS. A lot of times,
This is just a context location map, so they're just showing you where the project is.
Yeah, and it doesn't show where the curb cuts are.
Yeah, but that's just a traffic study. That's
Right.
They're probably not including the curb cuts because they're saying that the amount of traffic that's gonna be entering and exiting these isn't gonna warrant TIS. So what the 100 units are probably gonna split between these driveways. And they're looking at.
let me look. I mean, it's,
The larger context of Dodge Road.
I don't know which diagram he put up there, but,
This one. Tell me what that tells you.
so, this tells me that they've looked at, these are the intersections / access points that have been studied, 1 through 4. So, they are looking at the driveways. That's what those two, the red one and the other one, those are driveway, that's the access points. So anything that's numbered has a level of service and a capacity analysis conducted in the report. So, and we can look at that. Here we go.
That's in the body of the report.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I
So
know.
here's the capacity analysis. So these numbers match up with your figure. One is J.J. Audubon Dodge, Dodge, and this is that easterly driveway. And note that it's U, got a U there, that means it's unsignalized.
Because I went through these,
Got it, but I'm,
went through them. I just have a problem with a low-quality sketch.
okay.
I have two comments, Chris. First one, can we ask them to put stop bars on the exit of both of their access points?
Yes, and it should have stop signs.
Perfect, thank you. And then the other thing I was
Good, appreciate that, thanks.
Yeah, no
Sometimes I
worries.
miss that.
And the other thing I was thinking was, since Walton Woods is just south of here, like if you cross the street and go down Robin Ridge Road, the entrance, the trail that goes to Walton Woods is like right there. And since this is, I mean, how many units is this? This is a ton of units. Yeah, and if they have a dog park with their dogs, I assume people would want to go and walk across, cross the street frequently to go to Walton Woods. I know I would if I lived here. So I was thinking, could we ask them to like put in an RRFB or something like that? I mean, there are 7,000 cars a day here. I don't know if that's something we should consider. I mean, personally, I think it would increase the amount that they could charge for rent, but that's just my opinion.
Sure, so they would have to acquire a highway work permit for that, but we certainly can ask for it. It's well within the scope of this, yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
It is a decent plan. I mean, once they cross, where are they gonna go?
So right, if you zoom on a little bit more,
Oh,
the entrance, no, keep going. So the entrance to the trail is right there at Robin Road, and the corner of Robin Road and Robin Ridge.
this one?
Yes, if you go down,
Okay.
right there, the trailway entrance is like right there.
Yeah, but how do they get there? I mean, there's no sidewalk on Robin Ridge.
I mean, yeah, I guess it wouldn't connect to like.
Peanut lines there too.
Sounds like an opportunity to build more sidewalk.
I just know personally, if I lived there, I would definitely go and
Yeah.
right on that trail and walk in there, very frequently.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave it up to you guys.
No, I'm just thinking, if the always stop warrant analysis is positive, then we could have a established crossing there instead.
Is that gonna
Instead
be
of-
met with like, that's 7,000 cars a day just on Dodge, I mean, how many are on Robin Ridge?
I don't think enough. I did look at it in the TIS, and I don't think it's meeting it.
Maybe you could surprise us with that.
Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, let me look real quick. Background.
Yeah, Robin Ridge.
So, yeah, this is just the peak hour. This is background, so you'd want full development. Total site, full development, here we go. So it would be a total of 29 plus 12, plus the supposing, so I don't think you're gonna hit the 200.
It's geared towards family or it's geared towards student? It's not designated student house, student.
No, it's not student housing, that we know of. I mean, that's something we can't necessarily regulate unless it's officially a dormitory, which requires a special use permit from the top board. So, I mean, the only way we'd be able to tell that is through floor plan design, is if they were allocating to like a common area and then, units with each one with an ensuite, then we can say this is clearly meant for, not a family, for, individual dwelling units inside of the apartment, but, not to my knowledge, but I mean, they're certainly gonna be able to take advantage of a student population 3 seconds from campus.
Right.
Okay, any other comments? All right, hearing none.
My comment.
We're gonna do Costco.
So before we dive into this, because there's a lot here, I just want to mention to you that we did our initial review of this, and we kind of pointed out some larger issues that require some substantial redesign on their part with interior circulation parking rooms. So this site plan is not indicative of what is being designed to be revised based on our comments. So Chris and I thought it would probably be better to focus on larger contextual issues, pet access, bus access, bike access, not just for this site, but kind of over in the area as a whole as this ties into other developments that surround it. This I just did quickly this afternoon so you guys can get a feel for how this site is situated within what's existing, and kind of how some of the interior circulation is set up kind of before you just start.
Yeah, so this is going to come back to you with a revised set. So this is not your last opportunity, but what we don't want you to do is get hung up on this spot and, conflicting with this drive aisle. That interior stuff is going to change. But definitely look at access points, what they're, just in a nutshell, they are extending Beaumont Parkway. This is an all-way stop. Continues to the north and then turns into Romney. Romney would be reconfigured to eliminate this offset intersection. Right now they are showing a new signalized intersection. Likewise, it's this one, right?
Nope,
No,
next one,
it's
that one.
That one. It's Best Buy. This nearby would also be a signalized intersection. These would be coordinated, and there are no changes to Bailey Avenue at this time to widen it. This falls within the Boulevard Central District, so essentially that means that a GEIS has already been performed, and all the developer needs to do is write us a check based on a number of trips being provided. They provide the check to the town, and the town has to decide what to do with those funds in terms of the overall transportation network. Maybe that means improve Meyer intersection. Maybe that means dual lefts off Maple onto North Bailey. Maybe that means widening North Bailey. It's really up to us to take those funds in this entire redevelopment central district and determine the best use of those mitigation fees.
So just for, that's a good point, Chris. Can you go to Google Maps?
Is Bailey a county road?
North Bailey is a town.
So the Boulevard Central District goes from the 290 down to Sheridan, over to Harlem, and back up. So it's kind of this whole triangle of land. Part of that process in the Boulevard Central District GEIS, Sanford Generic Environmental Impact Statement, is done to program or kind of precipitate full build-out scenarios so that it incentivizes development within this area. The GEIS portion of it is a function of seeker. What you'll see is the planning board issue a lot of times negative declarations, which is little to no significant impact based on the conditions of a project. However, looking at something like this at a full-scale build-out requires what's called a positive declaration, because inherently there is significant impacts on the environment. One of those that is identified is traffic. So during the GEIS process, full build-out scenarios for every parcel of land with the most intense development in the zoning district in which it's being zoned to is studied for the amount of traffic that it'll create. That number then has to be mitigated traffic has more or less been studied to kind of an ultra extent in this area. With this in mind, so this project, the GEIS was born in 2019 when they did the BCD rezonings. At that time, the town rezoned it to our mixed-use district, Center 8, which allows for 8-story development of retail, commercial, residential, to the fullest extent. So this portion of it was studied for that build-out, which is more intense in a way than what this is. So don't get caught up in the TI when you read the TIS thinking that they're trying to pull one over on you saying there's not going to be a significant impact. It's just that this has been studied for what most would consider a more intense version of development in this area. So this will not, in their minds, hit the thresholds for a lot of those mitigation techniques.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, the TIS is specific for access points. So we're looking at Meyer and the 2 signals. It would be 3, 2 signals and another driveway to the north. That's all that they're required to look at for the TIS. It is up to the town to review their information for the entire network within this BCD. We have hired an outside engineer, and they are currently reviewing this plan as well as the entire BCD area to see where the mitigation fees would be best applied. So there are other eyes on this besides this board and staff. We needed a fresh look to see if the mitigation numbers needed to be tweaked or if those locations for mitigation need to change. So just to let you know that that is occurring concurrently with this plan.
And that this development, this project specifically wasn't looked at in a vacuum. Like most people will tell you outside of in the general public, as you talk to people about this, like, how could they possibly do this? Don't they understand it's going to increase traffic? Yes, but this has been studied within a larger context of a district that we have already said, you know, there are going to be mitigation techniques required not just for North Bailey, but, you know, maybe for the corner of Romney and Niagara Falls Boulevard as a product of this, or maybe for Sheridan and North Bailey as a product of this. So the effects of this project move outside of North Bailey and Romney specifically.
So Jennifer, I know you emailed me specific to the roundabout at Emerson, Amsterdam, and Bailey. That is one of the mitigation in that BCD. You know, that's, if it ever is necessary, those mitigation fees would pay for that roundabout. Emerson, Amsterdam, Bailey, just south of Wegmans.
So
Chris.
my concern on this plan that's up there is the warehouse. Is that in scope or no?
Yes, so,
We're talking the soap plant?
yeah, so
Yeah.
this whole thing is one site plan. This is all under review right now, so every aspect of this, including the blending facility, is part of this, and Key Bank, but Key Bank you guys have actually seen before not too long ago. They did some substantial improvements to it, because they're increasing employment. So this whole thing is under your purview right now as to the traffic plans.
So how are they getting the trucks in and out of the warehouse, and how is that being addressed on
I'm
a?
going to bring up the trucking plan.
So that's a good point, that's a good transition. So what they provided for us is a truck routing diagram for the entire complex, which is Amherst Conference Park. And Chris will show you that there's
It's not
everything
Boulevard
broken up
Square 2?
into multiple
It's not Boulevard
sheets.
Square Square? Boulevard Square.
They have an overall for trucking plan. It's right here. Oops, one more down. Come on, you can do it.
So what you'll notice is trucks are coming from ideally the 290 coming down Ridgely, coming into the north curb cut of the site, or go scroll up even more. So they're coming down intersection towards Costco, around this loop to make deliveries in Costco, and then further down here to access the blending facility. We're going to loop around, come back up, out, and then down to Meyer Road. So one of the things that we identified is we don't support any truck access to Meyer Road. I think it's unnecessary. So we've asked them to look at how they can get trucks out of this facility without pushing them down on Meyer.
But we're still taking the trucks through all those parking spots.
Guess,
I'm just looking at the bottom part, that one row, right, where you're saying they were going back out.
This here?
Nope, down that one there.
Yeah,
So there really is no road, right?
Right,
There's no,
so-
they're gonna have to go through parking spots in order to, I mean, I understand going back behind the buildings, coming around, it's keeping the trucks out of the parking lot. You're gonna have a little bit up the north end, but right there, there's like nothing.
Yeah, so this area here is kind of undescribed as to what's going on here. I'm not sure why this is even necessary as a row of parking stalls. We're thinking that they're anticipating further development in this area. So we've asked them to take a look at this and say, is it really necessary for access to facilities? Is that something that if there were future development, it certainly is just pavement, curbing could be installed at a later date. But yes, that's.
so to Eric's point, this is a soap manufacturing with delivery. I would suspect that the Delta Sonics nearby would need multiple deliveries, and it might see a decent amount of truck traffic, and there's no real good way to get them out and in.
And my question there also is, when I say trucks,
They're gonna be semis.
Benderson's not gonna be taking semis from that blending facility to they're gonna be small box trucks. So small box trucks, that small box truck would technically be able to use Meyer Road, the Beaumont Meyer Road, because they're not.
Yeah, so what we're trying to avoid is semis to Meyer, using that access.
But it's going to be a lot of box trucks, potentially.
We feel as though that should be for passenger vehicles.
Yeah, it's hard to police that. You're not going to be able to say no box trucks.
Well, I mean,
You can see the weight limit.
And then to piggyback on
enforce
Eric,
that.
having these semis drive through a parking area where you've got cars backing in and out and pedestrians, yeah, that's concerning.
I understand.
What's wrong with the trucks going out the same way they came in?
We're encouraging them to do that.
It's just not direct. You're going through parking aisles. That's all.
So this one was troublesome too.
Right.
Could we, like Dan was saying, couldn't we just make them go use that back alley, like go up behind the building, like the way they came in?
Yeah, so yes.
Ask.
We certainly can ask. We've asked them to look at their truck templates and say, what's really necessary, what movements
And those
are.
existing buildings that are in there are going.
We don't want any of this driving through parking lots, right?
Right.
As much as they can stay in the back of everything.
Yeah, so one of the things like I mentioned earlier is the introduction of parking rooms. So what we're trying to do is basically access management, but internal in site, and create interior roads, private drives with limited access into parking fields, so that it's not consumer square. We have just slots of parking and uncontrolled access into it.
It's great traffic calming, though. Nobody knows where anybody's going. Can't speed through that parking lot.
That's one of the things that'll change. You'll see more
Eastern Hills is just potholes. Traffic control through potholes.
And that road that connects to Meyer is slightly offset, but I think that's because that's where the property lines are. Like, they've made it as straight as they can.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that too, Jennifer, but it seems excessively wide. I mean, it's 36 feet. If you narrowed that and hugged it to the left, I think it's that wide to accommodate the trucks. So if you made it 24 and hugged the west side of that property line, it would better line up. I don't like the misalignment as well, and it's going to be a comment.
Chris, the two new signals on this project, those will be smart signals?
Yes, it will have to meet our town specs. Correct.
Okay, good. I'm glad you mentioned town specs. So do I assume every signal light that the town puts in the future will be a smart signal no matter who pays for it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do they have to be signals?
No. What would you like?
Roundabout?
So yes, roundabouts definitely should be in the discussion. Yeah.
I like the roundabout to roundabout deal, just like Cheektowaga has.
Well, I was
Two
talking
roundabout into a
about
roundabout, figure
Romney
eight.
and Best Buy, the ones mentioned in the report here.
Okay.
They're already signals, right?
Nope.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Romney and North Bailey is not signalized.
And Best Buy is not a signal light,
No, these
but
would be
they
two
become
brand new
signal
signals.
lights.
Correct.
So I would like to see how that would look if they made those roundabouts instead of signals.
All right. Is anybody opposed to them exploring roundabouts on this board? Okay.
They got to be designed to take a truck, right?
Well, do they both have to be? You could, right, but I'm saying if we're concerned about truck traffic going into one end of the building or something of that nature, if you wanted to choke down the truck, you could make one of them to help do that by making it a little bit harder for the truck to navigate through it. That's why the engineers get paid big bucks.
I didn't hear it. Oh, yeah, sure. That right, Jennifer?
I don't know if this is something we're talking about for this site plan or if this is too like minute, but the main thing that sticks out to me for this plan is the like lack of like pedestrian accommodations at all. Like I feel like there's very minimal sidewalks. Yeah, which seems like a very, very large oversight. Like even their one across the way has like a little bit more sidewalks, like the Commerce Park. They have like kind of those sidewalks that are like protected in between those lines. You know, like it just seems like there was really minimal consideration for pedestrians in this design, and I feel like we should ask them to provide like a complete sidewalk network within this development.
Do you think people are going to walk into Costco?
I mean, I might walk to this.
No, I'm saying from the parking lot into Costco. Right, and
Say again?
Think about the people that are getting off the bus.
Yeah, there's a bus route right there.
At either Costco or Dick's or Del Stockland. How do they get to the side of the
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a bus route right on Ridge, North Bailey, yeah, sorry.
I don't know how many you would get, but are you going to get people walking from the Best Buy end of the plaza over to the Costco and Dick's?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Bridges, pedestrian bridges, or pedestrian tunnels.
But I agree with you though, Tom. I mean, personally, I'd love to see, I mean, if it does end up being traffic lights, I'd like to see them have a complete, you know, four-legged crosswalk across both of those. If it's roundabouts, I'd like for there to be some sort of pedestrian consideration to allow for people to cross the street.
You'll notice there is an existing sidewalk on the west side of North Bailey.
Right.
So, you know, it's there for the taking.
Well,
Accommodate connections across North Bailey into.
is there a reason why they're not requiring it on the east side or showing it on the east side?
Yeah, I feel like that should be required, right?
So it is required. I don't know what their scope of work is for covering the ditch.
I
That
mean,
may have went into.
Whoops, wrong side. Right.
Yeah, I mean, with such a massive project, I feel like that just has to be considered. Or
Sure.
mandatory.
We would just create sewer.
Costco doesn't have.
Okay.
Where does that crosswalk go to?
Which one?
Laser track. Okay, it does connect.
This is actually striped. And where is that? Isn't that striped now?
It could be, that's an older, what is that?
I'm pretty sure that's striped now, but it's like not protected. It's just a crosswalk.
So highway did that?
No, it was put in as part of Key Bank, maybe?
Oh.
Yeah.
Good job, Bucks.
Yeah, but it is uncontrolled. Okay, so more ped circulation, sidewalks on Bailey, crossings.
We've reached out to the NFTA to see what their thoughts are on the locations of their stops, whether they're willing to accommodate potentially moving them, adjusting them based on where the access is going to be this site versus where the access is in the west. I don't think we've heard back from them yet, but we did make an effort to include them because there are some bus routes along the Bailey. And there probably will be a decent population of people that take the bus to work at some of these places. For sure.
Anybody have any thoughts on the the Beaumont extension? It shows that about 29% of the vehicles going to this location are going to be utilizing this. I personally like to get the vehicles off North Bailey, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention, see if you guys have any comments. So this is signalized at Maple.
That signal has capacity, that's for sure. I mean, you're gonna have to,
I mean, the one thing that that side has going for it that the other side doesn't is that Maple doesn't have a connection to the 290. So at least there wouldn't be people getting off right there and then going
where's
up.
the train?
That would technically, in theory, go right along Maple. It would cut right across the parking lot of the mall and go all the way down Maple. I think it goes underground for a
I
little
thought, where's
bit.
the train?
Like right around there, it goes underground supposedly,
Right. It's gonna
and
go
then
right up
re-emerges right before it gets to.
Yeah, it's gotta go underground to make the turn on the street.
Oh yeah. Okay, perfect.
Because it can't make that part of
The train's gonna have to go back underground?
Okay. Light rail to sky rail. Honestly, by the time it's done, it probably will.
So any more big picture? Notice the realignment of Romney. They did not provide any type of design plans. It looks really sharp to me, but
It's pretty sharp, but it'll slow them down.
I'd like that to be a little more gentle.
How does that play into the discussion of Benderson taking over Romney?
Oh, yeah.
I can't answer that.
Can we just have Benderson take over Romney?
That's what they mentioned at, they mentioned that at a couple meetings ago.
I think we mentioned
I
it.
think you guys mentioned it. Yeah, I think you guys
Still
did.
have to make the changes if it's that.
I mean, if they do that, then they can develop back behind Target on that green wad of land back there, put more stuff in there, get rid of the road, knock down the next business park.
They
You can move it.
realign Romney and put it on the other
Put it on
side.
the other side of the 290.
Make it a pool shop.
Just a pipe. There you go. I think it's probably out of scope, but we already had the traffic concerns come to us at Romney and the crosswalk between those two plazas. If you have Beaumart whipping around, connecting into Romney, is that within scope for pedestrian traffic concerns on Romney between the two plazas already where the O is in Romney?
I'd say probably not for this.
I mean, they have shown willingness to make alterations at that particular intersection.
Right. But we kind of shot that down. Romney almost just needs to go away. What would be, just curious that I say that. You can't do it though. I mean, if you just shut Romney down instead of making it tie in there. How much traffic is on if you don't have that, how much traffic is on Romney now?
Yeah, but there's gonna be a lot.
Where does it go?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you can't, it's just in a horrible spot. Can't we just go back to having the
Romney
Boulevard
is
Mall and put all these stores in a mall? We'll go back there in 30 years, don't worry.
4,200, it's average daily traffic? Okay. What figure is that? Should be at the bottom. Oh, that was one page away. Yep, thanks.
4,000?
4,200.
So that's measured.
We got a lot of vehicles there. Well, I think we take a look at it when they give us a new plan.
Yeah.
A lot of speculation going on.
Do you think we'll see this multiple times before they finally get the green
Say
light, or
one more time?
just one more time?
Yeah. Early May.
We have our next meeting on May 3rd, and whatever we tell them to do, they'll have a shovel in the ground on Thursday after.
When do the new plans come out?
This time next year, so.
Yeah.
So if they want to be on the May planning board meeting, those sufficient enough time to review those. You guys review fire, engineering, everybody.
Ooh, that's what they're gonna put in that spot. Chick-fil-A, right in the middle.
Costco. If you have a card.
I like it.
You guys see any value of inviting Benderson here to discuss this?
Wouldn't be opposed to it.
You're gonna try to do it all in one night, probably.
Think there'd be any problem with that?
People would.
I mean, this isn't getting any public.
What's the May agenda look like?
I mean, because this one's so close to the May one, I think it's gonna be a light agenda. We got one
So I would
item.
say, I don't think they're gonna want to sit through 3.5 hours and describe this, but if they know that they can be in and out of here.
Nope, I've got nothing.
So what's this money they get?
What's the money? It's like a mitigation fee.
We weren't that bad.
Um,
Where's the model?
How much?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I wasn't the model at that meeting that night.
1,000 and change per trip?
1,000 per trip.
Just over $1,000 per trip. It's not insignificant.
Sounds to me like a lot of money for roundabout. Yes, me.
Yeah, but, you know, the thing is, they could, the signals work, you know what I mean? So they'd be willing to make it work, and they're on the hook. The mitigation fee does not pay for the signals. They're gonna have to pay for the signals. But would they be willing to pay for roundabouts? I don't know, that's gonna be decisions higher than my pay grade. So, but the mitigation fees, They might be more useful somewhere else than the roundabouts.
In the town, you can use them any place you want.
No, just in that big triangle he identified.
Okay, that triangle, okay, the golden
Yep.
triangle.
So if you're really bored, looking for something really boring to read, the GEIS is pretty lengthy. It covers a lot of traffic stuff. Traffic zones, the BCD is broken up into like 9 zones.
I thought it was more, but we projected it to 2040, that's like the build date. So we took a look and just said, okay, what's the most optimal build out for this redevelopment? And then kind of backed into, okay, we modeled it and said, where's it gonna break at 2040? And then all these projects popped up, and it's identified in there, multiple lanes at this intersection. So North Bailey, 5 lanes, and then there's a cost associated with that. And we take that cost and then back into this mitigation fee that we're talking about, at $1,000. That's kind of that in a nutshell.
So, yeah, GEIS total covers everything from soil disturbance and natural acidic resources to traffic to sewer loading, water loading, everything that you can think of. That's the GEIS, so that's thousands of pages. The FEIS, which is the final environmental impact statement, is the final review of the GEIS. So like after the GEIS is adopted, it gets sent out to the DEC, the Army Corps, SHPO, everybody for their review. They provide comments. Those are then summarized in the FEIS, and then after that, the town board adopts what's called a statement of findings, which is a summary of the mitigation required for the project. So if you want a quick synopsis, read the finding statement. If you really want to look at all of the GIS and the geotech,
Is this on the website?
it should be.
I don't see it.
Go
There's a lot on there.
to
I think it's right on the home landing page, isn't
It's
it?
hard to review those plans on a laptop computer. I can tell you.
You don't wanna print them. There should be a section, scroll down a little more. There's like a section where you can view the current, are you in planning department?
I'm at planning department.
They used to have, right on the top. It was like list of current projects or something like that.
Current planning.
Go to some. It's on the, it's gotta be on there somewhere. If not, I can certainly send you a link to the document. Good bites.
Okay.
Is it right on here? Scroll down a little bit on the home.
That never works.
I see it, I see pending development projects on that page.
Well, that's what, that's for like site plans.
Oh.
It wouldn't be here. Yep, okay.
So this was broken up into 2 rezonings, sector 1 and sector 2.
So it's 2040, what's that? Is that why you went that far?
And here's the finding statement. So this is like the Cliff Notes version. And then there'll be a transportation section in here saying, here's that 2040 I was just talking about. Here are those identified areas.
Yeah, so then you'll see each of these points is a mitigation measure that's required to accommodate that build-out scale.
So each one of these is a mitigation. Now this can change. This is kind of like every couple of years we look into this and say, this might not make sense anymore and mitigation should go elsewhere. Fees are in here somewhere too. Here we go. Oh, nope. private share would be 12 million. And then we would put in a public share to total this. So all those mitigation for 2040 is going to equal $17 million worth of improvements. But like I said, we just hired an engineer to relook at it to make sure that those those identified mitigations are still pertinent and if the costs are still good. Well, I got comments in Costco unless anyone else has any more. And then I'll provide these and then we'll review it again in May. I'll invite back.
Any other plans? Have any baby plans? Nothing in the box.
Probably it. All right.
Make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Max. All in favor?
Aye.